Hey everybody, this is our second day at GlueCon today. Exciting, learning some great insights from a lot of these keynote speakers. And I have with me James Higginbotham, who actually spoke yesterday on day one. And his topic was are APIs still relevant today? So James, can you tell me a little bit more about what you spoke?
Yeah, so the summary of it is I wanted to take a survey of where we've been with APIs and then where we're going now with the varying API styles that are emerging. There's a lot of discussion about what's better, REST versus GraphQL, REST versus gRPC, and I want to kind of draw on some of our historical learnings and apply it to today's context of how we're building APIs. So the goal was just kind of take a quick survey of what's working and what's not, and encourage people to think more on the and side than the versus side. So rather than trying to create a battle out of it, rather find out when the different styles work best and try to make sure that teams can mix and match that to meet their needs.
That's very interesting. And how was the feedback so far which you got? I was at the talk and I saw a lot of people as well who were super excited and interested in the talk. So can you tell me a little bit more about some of the inputs you got?
Yeah, so a lot of people were excited for a few things. One was taking a look at history. There are a lot of new developers in our industry, and so being able to give them a short summary on where we've been helps kind of set the context for why we're at where we're at today. I think the other thing is encouraging teams to kind of slow down and think about what they're trying to solve and not to just jump onto the popularity bandwagon a little bit. And then third, people were really encouraged by the fact that we were talking about how to operationalize our APIs. So it's not just about what happens on our laptop, but what happens after that? What happens when we push it into production and how we support it and monitor it and manage it, and the different aspects we have to weigh when we make decisions that could be lasting for months to years in the future.
Yeah, and I remember this one slide on your in the talk where you say, don't think about graph versus REST or graph versus SOAP because that's not the question. The question is how does this impact your business and how does this impact your end consumers, and that's the consideration that you have. So I found that very fascinating and interesting. What were you learning so far from GlueCon?
I think, like every year, I've really enjoyed coming to GlueCon. This is my sixth conference with GlueCon, and every year there's always a mixture of what's starting to emerge or what people are thinking about and trying to solve kind of ahead, 12 to 18 months out. But there's also a really good mix of what people are doing with technologies today. We've had a huge number of technologies thrown at us over the last few years. And I think a lot of the speakers and a lot of the side conversations in the hallways have all been about how are we turning that into something practical that solves problems, rather than just throwing a bunch of acronyms into a big pool and trying to build software out of it. So I always really appreciate the perspective of those that are on the ground, putting this thing into practice and saying, this is what's working, this isn't what's working, here are the challenges we need to take on for the next 12, 18 months ahead of us.
Yeah, and I've always this is my second GlueCon. Not necessarily hit that 6 mark yet. But what I found fascinating with GlueCon is just it's like there's so many case studies, as you mentioned, right? People are actually in the ground, in the weeds, actually implementing things. So it's just so fascinating to learn from their experiences versus just like saying, hey, this is a concept, this is how you can apply it, versus I've actually gone through this experience. I know on paper it sounds great, but practically there are like some challenges associated with that. So
there's huge value in that, and we can go through a lot of screencasts and learn a lot of the technology and get the fundamentals down, which is important. But then learning from people that are actually really putting it into practice makes a huge difference on how well we can execute and how much benefit we can bring to the organization.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, James. This was a pleasure catching up. And yes, stay tuned. We will have other videos coming up as well.
Bye.
Thank you, James.